Welcome back to Faith Works. I'm your host, Jazalina, and today's guest is a dancer and a poet with an amazing vibe. Erica Marta is a hot Latina with amazing moves, and she can dance to any beat. Erica also has a passion for spoken word, and her poems are known for healing broken hearts. There's no stopping Erica, and she gets better with age. Welcome to the show, Erica.
Hi, baby. Thank you for having me.
Of course, so great to have you on Faith Works. I love Erica Marta, guys, all right? First of all, we met a couple of years ago because we have a mutual friend.
Yes, we do.
Priscilla.
Hey, girl.
Hey, girl, hey. Now, Erica, are you ready?
I'm ready.
So let's get into it. Let's get spiritual.
Hey.
All right, Erica, so how has God changed your life?
What a question. So the older that I got and I was able to, find the terminology to describe it, I say that I've been very conscious and aware since I was little.
Oh, God.
I just knew that what my mom and dad, were trying to teach me with Catholicism wasn't really speaking to me on a spiritual level.
And you knew that at a young age.
Oh, I was getting kicked out of catechism at 5 years old. How can God and Jesus be the same person? How can you be your dad and your son?
She had questions.
I did have a lot of questions. So the older that I got, once I completed, everything that I was doing on behalf of my parents, which, you respected and you learn a lot, I started exploring on my own and kind of finding what worked and resonated more with me.
Okay, I love that. All right, so there are times in our life when we find it really hard to pray.
Yeah.
And I want to know from you, have you ever been through that?
I have. It's interesting because I've been through, my share, we'll just call it, and I have always relied on prayer and self-healing. So in that way, it was always something that I really leaned towards. Yeah. However, there have been moments where I found myself, we were speaking about this earlier, that there's a difference between, setting time aside for your practice and your prayer. And I found lately that even though sometimes someone will go through something and come to me and be like, will you pray for me? And I'm like, yeah, I'll pray for you. The next day I'm like, I didn't actually do it. Like I said it, sometimes, life gets in the way and we're not setting aside the time for God and our spirituality.
That's a really good point because you hear people often tell people that they find that are more spiritually inclined or religious, pray for me, pray for me. Yeah. And at times, I know that whenever I receive a prayer request, I'm always like, okay, let me write that down because I don't want to forget tonight.
I should start doing that. Right.
Now let's talk a little bit about disappointments and discouragement. How do you handle that?
Okay, so, you can relate it to anything, whether it's your family, whether it's a relationship, being in the industry, when we're working, as dancers, as artists, you're not always going to get the job. Yeah. The relationship's not always going to work out. Right. And so how do you handle that? My biggest thing is to lean on, this mic, sorry, I keep hitting it, is to lean on God, is to lean on my girlfriends, is to lean on the village that I've cultivated and to remind myself that everyone has a season. Everything has a reason. Everything has its purpose. And sometimes you don't see it when it's happening, but a positive attitude has really helped me. I had one of my mentors tell me once, maybe only 3% of the population is genuinely happy. I was like, that's a really low number.
That is a low number.
Think about it. People that are genuinely happy, just bubbly and have a positive outlook on life when so many people are going through suffering around the world or unhappy with their jobs or unhappy with themselves. And I was like, you know what, maybe the number is lower than I thought. And so that's thankfully worked in my favor. So to remember that in your moments where you're not your best.
So in life, sometimes we have a setback, and normally that leads to a set up for a comeback. Why do you think that is?
I think a lot of it has to do with, we have a tendency to think that life happens to us and not for us. So it's not an attack, but there's a lesson in everything. And even if in that lesson it's like, look, this thing that you really wanted may not have been for you, or it might be, but you're not going to get there the way that X or Y person did. I think it teaches you humbleness, and it teaches you to really work for the things that you say you want. They say God helps those who help themselves, yeah? So it's not just going to be that, you think the thought and, okay, I'm not going to do any of the work. Sometimes you do the work, and you always need to do the work, but sometimes you do the work and you don't manifest what you think was for you. And I think it's a good time for you to reevaluate, is it the goal or the method to reach the goal that needs to be, shifted, that needs to change. So I think it's great. And usually you don't get something and then you learn later, thank God I didn't get what I wanted. Right. thank God that what I wanted didn't work out for me.
True.
You know what I mean?
And that's like a blessing in disguise when that happens, right?
Open enough to realize that, and you really think like, wow, my life would have been like violently different if it had gone that way. It gives you a good sense of appreciation. And if you don't fail, you're never going to appreciate your successes as much. And I think that's why I said about humbleness. At the end of the day, you need to have the rain to appreciate the sun as much, right? You need to not be able to see in order to appreciate your sight.
It's true. So what does faith mean to you, Erica?
She came with loaded questions. I love it. So faith to me means, believing in something way bigger than yourself, and that everything has a purpose. I genuinely believe that, every individual that's on this planet, all the billions of us, have a specific purpose set out for us. And I do believe that it all has to do with paying things forward. So I constantly say all the time that I believe my purpose is to help as many people as possible through the sharing of my talents, be it dance, be it poetry, be it speaking, the writing. So I think that that's the goal for everyone, is to help someone else. And the legacy that you leave behind is like the human being that you are, because this human experience is amazing, right?
It is. And we have to, like you said, share that with other people. Now, sometimes our faith tends to go down a bit when something wrong happens. So Erica, how are we able to keep our head up when we feel like everything around us is going wrong?
I think that's a big tendency that people have in general, yeah? Like even when you don't equate it to faith, it's great to like be in a good mood when things are going great, and it's a lot harder to keep that up when things are not going so great.
Girl, it's a struggle.
So especially with your spirituality, that can become very tricky. And so I feel like my dedication to, God and believing, and the fact that I won't lie, like I'm naturally positive, so it is a little bit easier for me. But things that I find as a tendency to like keep that up, or the advice that I give to other people when they're not feeling at their best, is to remember all of the things that you are grateful for and all of your blessings that you do have. We tend to take the little things for granted, and I try my best not to. You get a sunset every day, you get a sunrise every day, but it doesn't look the same. It's always different. So when you stop, and think to yourself, I'm gonna be grateful for it every time I see it, and not just be like, oh, this again. Or even to, honestly, I stopped watching the news because it was heartbreaking. But you know how many people don't have a meal and don't have this couch to sit on? And
Erica, you better preach to our viewers out there.
So when you don't make the time for gratitude, just like when you don't make the time for prayer, you can get a little bit lost, and you can fall into, oh, this is just common. This just happens, and it is what it is. I'm grateful every time I eat. And I try to be mindful of that. There's people that are hungry.
There are so many people. And like, I always pray over my food. And I also pray for the people that prepared it. Right. Because if we didn't have the people preparing our food, then we may not have it, would be limited. And then like you said, there are so many people that are hungry.
We're very blessed, and sometimes we don't realize how blessed we are. Like, you don't have to be living like Beyonce, even though I love you, Beyonce. You don't have to be living like Beyonce to be blessed. We're not hungry. We don't want for anything, we have a roof over our head, we have our families, we have clothes on our back, we have friends, we can go out, we can afford this pop and makeup in here that we got going on over here. So it's little things like that seem little, that really aren't. And a lot of people are struggling. And even people like us, we're entrepreneurs, we're doing what we love. You just created your own show. Again, congratulations. I worked for myself for the past 8 years. There's people that don't have that luxury. They don't live that life. And so to not show gratitude for it, I feel like is an insult, not only to, God and yourself and your purpose, but for the people that don't have that opportunity, at least right now.
I was watching The Secret and, the law of attraction. And one of the stories that he was sharing on there was like having a gratitude rock, right? Which is simple. And he would just keep this rock on him as a reminder to be grateful. So speaking of gratefulness, what are you grateful for?
Oh boy. So I speak often on being very grateful for being of, sound mind, of able body. I have, no crazy, physical deformities. I'm able to do for myself. I have my family. Thank God I have both my parents, my brother. Of course I've lost a couple of people in my life that have been very pivotal. Rest in peace, abuelo. But and I've lost a couple of friends and extensions of friends this year to violence, but I'm very grateful for what I have. I'm grateful for the experiences and the connections that I've cultivated with my friends, with people that are in my life now that aren't in my life anymore. I'm really grateful for everything. And I know that sounds like too all-encompassing and a little too easy, but I really am just a very gratitude-filled person.
Now, Erica is also a really big believer on love and spreading love. I want to talk a little bit about why it's important for us to try to love everyone, even our enemies. Sips tea.
Sips tea. This is a very interesting one. I feel like Buddha needs to face us. This is a very interesting one. I've had this conversation with a lot of people. Like I said, it's very easy to love people when they're doing the right thing and when they're not doing anything to upset you. I put right in quotations because it's not always about right or wrong, and that's not universal for everyone. So it's, to me, not only important to love people the way that you wish to be treated, but I actually had another mentor of mine tell me the other day that him and a very close person in his life have the attitude of always love and be better to people than they are to you. And I feel like that's really powerful. So you treat people how you wanted to be treated, right? And then a little bit more. Because at the end of the day, how people treat you has nothing to do with you.
It's true.
It has everything to do with them. And it's their personal journey. You have no idea what that person went through that day, their past traumas, what they've healed from, what they haven't. And forgiveness is not also super important for, moving forward, but it's really, it sounds selfish because forgiveness is for you, yeah? Not for the person you're forgiving, for you to heal and move on. But when you get to that, treat people a little better, you relinquish them of that guilt by almost letting them know you forgive them if you can, because you don't want them to suffer anymore either.
Sometimes you have to forgive someone that didn't even say sorry.
Oh yeah. Sometimes, your closure is the apology you never get. So how do you move on from that? Well, it's accepting that the closure doesn't always come the way that you want it to. You don't always get that apology text or that final conversation. Sometimes people that you would never imagine would hurt you, or people that wouldn't do certain things, you're like, nah, that's too far. Well, people take it farther than that.
Yeah, and that's because hurt people hurt people. Now, Erica, she also is a big believer in crystal healing.
I am.
So talk to us a little bit about why it's important to cleanse our chakras.
I brought props.
Oh, we love props.
So let me show you. So I keep a few things by my bed. I'm just gonna touch on them slightly. This is a salt candle that I have. I also have a salt lamp in the room that's supposed to remain on at all times. You never turn it off. You don't unplug it.
Okay.
I have my sage.
Let me see this. I burn sage also. It's really good to cleanse the energy.
Palo Santo also. This is like what it smells like in church. If you go to like a Catholic church or something like that, you'll smell like that certain distinct smell when the priest comes around. Yeah, smell this for me. It smells good, right? When you burn it, it smells even better. So this is my, pink quartz.
I know that's an amethyst.
Amethyst, clear quartz, and tourmaline.
Tourmaline, yes,
so
tourmaline's good.
I keep these all together. When I pick crystals, and I hand pick all of them, I actually got all of these, including this one, but I didn't bring it out because I forgot the name. I got it all in Costa Rica. I was going through something really difficult at the time, and I go to Costa Rica in the past 6 years. I think I've gone 5 times. I use it as a spiritual retreat for myself. I travel solo. When I tend to pray, I set an intention. Since all of them have a meaning like this, I call it like my intuition crystal. This will clear your mind and bring your...
And that's a clear quartz.
Yes. And bring your higher consciousness. You have a question, you hold this during a conversation with someone, you want to know if they're telling you the truth, you're going to feel it. So when any of your chakras are blocked or you feel like you're not at your best, I do recommend prayer. Prayer is, your conversation with God, and meditation is God's conversation with you. So I recommend meditation. Sometimes you can meditate and you can pray on, if you use a rosary, that's fine. I usually use mala beads. It's 108 beads. There's like different ways where you can pray on them, or you can just hold them and you can envision, how it is that you want to feel, what you want to unblock. Again, I had to brush up on these, but this is, your crown, your third eye. This is your throat chakra, your heart, solar plexus, sacral, and root. And so whenever you feel that one of them are blocked, usually you don't even notice. You might think it's that you have like a stomach ache, or you don't realize you're putting your hand over your stomach all the time and you're not realizing it's because that chakra is blocked. Or like if it's hard for you to speak, I have a little raspy voice by nature, but when I feel like it's difficult for me to get words out because I lost my voice and I don't know why, I know that something here is blocked.
Erica is an incredible dancer, and I believe she started dancing at like the age of 4. So why is dancing so important to you, and why is it one of your passions?
So I've always been like a little ball of energy. I feel like I came out of the womb salsa dancing, like holding onto my umbilical cord. That's how I envisioned myself being born. And I always just was very active. And I think at first my parents put me in because they were like, how do we channel this energy? The kids got a lot. So I was in sports and I was in dance growing up. I trained classically from 4 to 14.
Okay.
After that, everything was basically self-taught. I was, teaching myself the Britney Spears dances from the music videos. Okay. When I went to college, with the little bit that I had known already from like salsa, merengue, bachata, I started teaching. It was one of those things where it's like apply for the job and then learn after you get it. Like the job you applied for, it was that.
I am very spiritual, yes, and I love God, but I also love trap music and I also love twerking, okay? And Erica here, she can twerk like nobody's business. But I want to find out from you, because there are some people out there that are very judgmental and they feel as though you cannot praise God and twerk. What do you say?
Sips tea again. This is a really good conversation, because even, people that, come to my page now, in the past, maybe like 6 to 8 months, I've uploaded more photos of me dancing, or like of the modeling that's a little bit more open than I have my entire Instagram career. It was just like a photo here and there, a little back pose or whatever the case may be from one of my performances. And so if you go now and you scroll through, you could assume a lot. Which is interesting. Then people will read my page and DM me and be like, I thought you were only a pretty face or only a dancer. And then I read your work, or I read your captions, or I see the quotes that you post. You're a lot, deeper. And I'm like, well, I would hope that I would be like a lot deeper than an Instagram post that you saw in the past 2 weeks. So I've come across that a lot. There's a lot of people that have that argument. I believe, and this is always going to be my argument, there's a lot of traits that are not mutually exclusive. I don't have to choose, and I've always had that attitude. I don't have to be intelligent or sexy. I don't have to be, spiritually sound or covered from head to toe. I believe that I can be all things. So I believe that I can be intelligent and sexy and successful and open about my sensuality or my sexuality. I believe I could twerk, and if I want, later I can go pray or go meditate or go to church if I feel like it. And it doesn't mean I'm being a hypocrite or contradictory at all.
You heard it. So Erica started a twerk class for women. I actually attended one and I loved it. Why did you put that class together? Oh, thank you. My twerk is a struggle, but we won't get into that.
She's good. I have to have another one soon. So I wanted to do, for multiple reasons. Not only did I want, I'm an entrepreneur, so I'm always looking for different avenues of income, but I like to connect. And you know how we started in the beginning, we're holding hands in class. I wanted it to be a safe and powerful space for women to feel comfortable in their own skin. I didn't want it to be that anybody walked in with insecurity or thinking like, oh, well, you've been doing this for so long, or 2 of the girls in here are dancing. It doesn't matter. It didn't matter. I wanted it to be that I was growing my village and creating, a community of girls that wanted to move and feel good about it without having to feel judged for it. So we did it in a private space. And it was great because not only did we get to exercise and we get to learn some twerking and we get to, act the fool and have a good time.
It was just fun to be around so many women that just share the same goal. Yes. And we just wanted to have a good time, network and twerk.
Each other on, and you can see there was space for everybody in that room to shine.
Yes.
Everyone was cheering everybody on and everyone was having a great time, and I feel like that is important. I used to be one of the girls that said, I'm only friends with guys. Growing up in like middle school and high school, that was my thing. And then the older that I got, I was like, wait, having relationships with women is so important.
Erica has an amazing, beautiful friendship with Priscilla, which I love and I adore and admire. They're so close and they also work together. Yes. So what's it like sharing the stage and dancing with your bestie?
That's one of my favorite parts of performing with her. We usually dance together. So whenever we're booked or one of us is booked, you'll usually see us booked with the other. We have a really great chemistry, and because we love each other, you can see that on stage. We're laughing. We've literally stopped in the middle. I'll be like, come here, let me tell you something. And I'll whisper something to her, or we'll laugh about something, and it's all love up there. We feed off of each other's energy, and it's always very high.
Erica just did her first nude photo shoot, okay? And I was just like, wow, listen, this girl is so bold. But I know that you're a feminist, and I know that you feel like women should love their bodies no matter what size. But I also admire your confidence. And I want to know, have you always been that confident where you could just bear it all?
I used to have terrible self-esteem. Wow. When I say, no, like bad. When I was growing up in middle school, I went to a predominantly white school. There wasn't a lot of Latinos. There definitely wasn't a lot of black people. It was very white Italian. And in that space at that time, I was a little bit of booty, but I was taller than everyone else. Okay. I was awkward in the sense of like, when my mom finally did my eyebrows, sorry mom, I love you, but then there was like, I would say here, I had like medication I used to take, so the teeth was a little yellow, I had a snaggle tooth, the hair, I didn't know how to style it. I'm, playing myself a little bit. I have my ugly stage that everyone feels that they go through. And I didn't have very good self-esteem. I think not only was it because the kids that I went to school with were so open on letting me know like I was not popular and I was not cool and I was not whatever, but yet I always had a seat at the cool kids table. I was the person that was in the middle.
Okay.
I got along with people that weren't cool, and I also was chilling with the people that were cool. This confidence I always had, and I don't know how, was always within. I used to say to people like, so I might not be pretty, but I'm funny. And I'm a good person, and you can't take that from me. And so people still always wanted to be around me. And so once I stopped, comparing my beauty to other people's and why I don't look like them, and I shed all of that, and I got back to like the little girl that always knew she was awesome on the inside. It started showing way more on the outside. That confidence started, showing in everything that I did and everything that I was. And then the older that I got, the more that I started becoming way more, because as a dancer, you have to be comfortable with your body. But it's different to become comfortable with you and it show. Like I have people telling me throughout the years, you buy clothes that are a little bit too big for you. Like you think you're a size that you're not. And I'm like, So you start to think, why am I doing that?
Right.
Why am I shopping a size too big? Or why am I doing this or that? And as far as the nude shoot, let me be clear. You do not have to be nude to feel empowered. And I wanted to explore that part of me, like to really be 100% liberated, to really not be covered, to have no mask, to have nothing and just shoot in all my glory. I loved it. And then to post it on social media.
I know. That's why I was like, where do you get this confidence?
And that's something that thank God I've had for a while. So that, anyone who follows me on social media will know like, this is a very confident individual, but it took time and it took practice. Like I said, I was confident on the inside, but not so much on the outside. And so thankfully, thank God and thank my experiences. And I do thank my spirituality and my faith for that and really accepting myself 100%. That's what it comes with.
So Erica is also a really good writer and she is a poet. And I love the poems that she has written. She has a good one called Dangerous Territory.
You are the exact reminder of why I do not share my space and energy with just anyone. Nothing more than a bookmark in the story that is my life. I not only allowed you to enter, but wanted to develop something with you I felt worthy of having allowed into my home. But you cannot cultivate anything in infertile territory, and you, love, were a mix of a physical and chemical composition, incapable of growth, the result of imbalance, a deceiving structure that did not live up to the hype.
So tell us where you got the inspiration to write that one.
Ooh, that one is touchy. So that one came from, actually, it was around the time that I did my first nude shoot also. I was seeing someone, I had, a relationship with the gentleman at the time that I started to see a lot of behavioral patterns that I had shed with the unhealthy relationship I referred to you earlier that I knew I didn't want a part of anymore. And so dealing with someone like that for whatever good that it is that I saw or whatever the case might be was me treading through dangerous territory. It was me like taking some steps in places where I don't really know if I should be traveling here. And there were certain things about my personality that even if from afar, he may have appreciated it. Once he got up close, he was like, oh, you're not going to stop that? Or, oh, you're really going to do a nude shoot. Hey, you didn't ask me? I'm like, oh, I'm sorry, wait. I don't even ask my dad for permission. Like, even he knows better. I cannot be controlled.
So I want to know the books that have impacted your life the most.
Okay, so we're going to start with the one that I don't have here called You Are a Badass by Judgement.
Yes, I read that one. That's a great book.
That was my first self-help book. And I'm so, in certain ways, like, prideful because I've always relied on God or my own self-healing. So I was like, self-help book by someone else. I'm not gonna read that. And then I bit the bullet and I fell in love. And those books are so very helpful. It's basically like a little hypocritical because I do what she's doing in that book. Yeah, we're sharing our experiences and I don't want to read yours. Like, come on, sis, like stop it. So I read that book. That book changed my perspective on so many things. And it was at a pivotal point where I was going through a lot of personal struggle. Once I started reading that, after that it was like a waterfall. I started picking up books. Don Miguel Ruiz is one of my favorite authors.
He's a great author. And I love the photo you have of yourself with the books.
Oh, yes. I did a little photo shoot with them. They're like, something personal. I'm like, well. So the 4 Agreements, the 5th Agreement, and the Mastery of Love are books that I recommend super highly. That's where you learn in the 4 Agreements, for example, take nothing personally, judge no one. So just reading, the Toltec ideology, hearing how he puts something that could seem so complicated in the simplest of terms and make it an easy, awesome read was amazing. And on top of that, like he describes how when you're at different phases in your life, you could read that book from start to finish, and every time you're going to take something different from it.
All right, so I have to ask Erica to give us a little spoken word, right? She can't leave until we hear a little bit of Wild Woman.
Okay.
So hit us with a little something, something, please.
This poem is called Wild Woman. I am aware it is difficult to love a wild woman, but I am unconcerned with men whose hands are too small to grasp the concept that is all of me. Uninterested in shrinking for anyone's comfort, most especially that of a man who claims to love me. My love builds and uplifts, bringing a lover to new heights, so why would I clip my own wings while teaching you to fly? Would I remain small when encouraging you to stand tall? Would I apologize for taking up space when I am not sorry? I get it. Freedom is frightening for the insecure. They say if you love a flower, you let it be and let it grow, but then it does not belong to you. But then it is to be loved and admired by everyone. But then don't you realize no matter how hard you try that you cannot keep it alive? If that flower is not allowed to bloom in its natural element, it will slowly start to die. And I wonder what is more important to you, letting her live or getting to say, she's mine? How do you not notice that no matter how many admirers of your sunflower and her tulips, that she only responds to you? How she could pick you out of a crowd searching for and facing you as if you are the sun. She is your buttercup, her iris only fixated on you with intent, but I am well aware that for some that is not enough. Where I was unaware is that somehow my strength made you weak. I thought if you had 2 strong people, you would call that a team. What is it about me that makes you feel defeat? Just because I do not need you does not make you obsolete. How do you not see that I choose you? How do you not see that means so much more than needing someone? How do you not trust the one that could do everything for themselves but would rather do it alongside you? I wonder. But one can only wonder for so long and sit in the shadows for so long. The sun doesn't stop itself from shining for those it makes uncomfortable. No, it is they that need to find a way to come to terms with all that is the sun, not the other way around. If I recall correctly, the saying goes, if you can't take the heat, then get out of the kitchen. Not to stop cooking, because then imagine all the good meals you'd end up missing. So yeah, I'm aware it is difficult to love a wild woman, but I am unconcerned with men whose hands are too small to grasp the concept that is all of me. Uninterested, unapologetic. I am not sorry. I am growing. I am glowing. I am.
It is now time for my favorite part of the show. It is time to give, Erica. So here I have the treasure box, okay? So I want you to pick a gift from the treasure box because, Erica, I'm so happy that you are here on Faith Works. So close your eyes and go ahead and pick something from the treasure box.
Okay.
Let's see what you get. Go ahead.
I feel like this is the one that I'm supposed to. Ay, qué lindo!
Oh, wow.
My grandmother would be like, you see? Are you gonna go to church? Are you gonna go to church tomorrow? Abuela, you inspired this choice. Thank you so much.
You're welcome, Erica. Thank you again for being here. Do you have a testimony or confession you want to share with us before you go?
A testimony or confession? I guess my testimony would be always be true to yourself. There's only one of you, and we need you. So please be true to yourself. Stop worrying about what your parents have to say, what you learned in school, what your mentors or your teachers or your priests or whoever told you were supposed to be. Be true to the voice that speaks inside you. Follow your intuition. There's nothing more important than fulfilling our purpose, and your people that are for you will find you on this journey and stay with and support you through it. And confession, that no matter how much somebody can, be spiritual or whatever the case may be on this journey and through the times of being yourself, we all have our moments. We all have our moments that aren't so positive and aren't so beautiful and aren't so shining, but that's okay. You embrace it and you make sure you keep getting back up.
That's right. I love it. Thank you so much, Erica. I love you.
I love you.
Thank you for being, yes, of course. Thank you, Erica, for being on Faith Works. Thank you all for watching. Please continue to watch a new episode every week. And also, please subscribe to my channel. And I'm going to leave you with a bonus video at the end, Erica's twerk class. So you guys can see her in action. And always remember, walk by faith.
Not by sight.
That's right. See you next time.
Urging me, it be urging me. Chill it up, the top of going curtain, please. I decided to go up like Major League. She just bought the bucket just like bucket beans. She just bought the bucket, say I hurt her knee. She hurt me, rich, dumb, Hercules. 2 cups, Marta,